US President Donald Trump began putting his plan to broker peace between Russia and Ukraine into action today. He spoke on the phone for 90 minutes with Vladimir Putin. Then he called Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky to keep him abreast of what he and Putin had planned for his country. Meanwhile, his new Secretary of Defence was at NATO telling them Ukraine should not be allowed to join the military alliance. Experts say today's developments mark a seismic shift away from Europe in America's foreign policy. Senior correspondent Lisette Raymer reports.
Fresh off a 90-minute call with the Russian president, Donald Trump was celebrating as a woman accused of being a Putin sympathiser became the most powerful intelligence official in America.
There's nobody like her for this job. This was a very easy one for me.
It was the exclamation point on a day of domineering diplomacy by Donald Trump, which saw him reopen dialogue with a leader who has spent 3 years in the political wilderness. And he's just getting started.
We ultimately expect to meet. In fact, we expect that he'll come here and I'll go there.
Trump first announced his call with Putin on social media, writing, "We agreed to work together very closely. We have also agreed to have our respective teams start negotiations immediately." At the same time, in Kiev, President Zelensky was making his case to the American Treasury chief for more support.
President Trump has a plan to end this war.
But their plans already look very different. Zelensky, at most, has offered to withdraw Ukrainian troops from the Russian territory of Kursk in exchange for Russian troops withdrawing completely from Ukraine, including from the annexed peninsula of Crimea. But before official negotiations have even begun, the US has delivered some bad news to Kiev.
Returning to Ukraine's pre-2014 borders is an unrealistic objective.
At a meeting with NATO countries today, America's new defence secretary indicated a significant shift in US thinking, not just ceding Ukrainian territory to Russia, but crucially,
the United States does not believe that NATO membership for Ukraine is a realistic outcome.
By the day's end, Donald Trump had dialed up the Ukrainian president as well. President Trump informed me of what Putin told him, Zelensky explained. "We believe that America's power is enough to, together with us, together with all partners, pressure Russia and Putin towards peace." But the pressure right now remains on Ukraine. Overnight, Putin's missiles again targeted the capital with deadly impact. Russia is making gains on the battlefield and at the negotiating table, while the US has stripped Ukraine of its bargaining power.
I think Russia is a predator. They now feel some weakness which they will try to exploit.
It is not just Ukraine that has been rattled, but all of Europe. For the first time since the end of World War II, America looks to be abandoning its commitment to guaranteeing the security of the continent.
We must and we are focusing on security of our own borders.
The Oval Office also managed to wrangle the release of American teacher Mark Vogel overnight. Whisked straight from his Russian prison cell to the White House, he was still clutching a beer as he met with Trump.
I feel like the luckiest man on earth right now.
The deal struck with Russia was described by the president as
very fair, very fair, very reasonable.
But despite repeated assurances it hadn't been a prisoner swap.
It was not in return for anything. There wasn't some deal here where we had to release like 10 spies.
It has since been revealed that America did release a convicted Russian money launderer in return, only amplifying concern over what deal really has been done or will be done when it comes to Ukraine.
And Lisette spoke to Ukraine's ambassador to New Zealand, Vasyl Miroshnichenko, and asked him if Ukraine will ever be willing to cede territory.
This is not a single president is going to cede any territory. Not a single leader can afford to do it. It will never happen.
How much longer will this last?
Well, I hope we will see the end of this war this year, and gives me hope. And I think the resolve of Donald Trump gives me, encouragement that he can achieve it, right? Look, at the end of the day, it's in our common interests, because, well, if there are many different other issues globally, and the world is watching how this all going to play out.